Alrighty there, everyone. It is a random day in the middle of the week, so of course, we are finally getting news about the 2027 season. I've been waiting for this one for a while, and I suppose so have you all. But we finally have some very important updates, including but not limited to a bunch of the locations for this year's season, which is the main thing we're here for. But before everything else, there's some interesting changes. They do say there's going to be the global challenges involved, no more grand challenges, which means that we are going to be fighting for our very life with the entire world and not exclude the regions in Asia, which means you gotta prepare yourself for significantly harder tournaments coming soon. The first global challenge will begin Thursday, September 24th, which is already kind of messed up for reasons that we're going to get to later. But gotta start off with some bad news, because for the people that like Pokemon Unite, this is going to be the last Pokemon World Championship that is going to feature. There is already something in the works about a tournament in Tokyo. I haven't looked into it too much. Pokemon Unite is not exactly my area of expertise, but I thought it would be important to mention. So, let's get to the stuff that's relevant for us. Namely, the set number of competitors is getting yet another little bump, and I am ever so grateful for it, because we are slowly getting to a reasonable number, going up to 90 Masters per Europe and Canada. Latin America going to 60. Oceania still at 20, but according to Pokemon Australia, doesn't seem to be a real place anyway, because they cancelled OCIC all the way back anyways. So yeah, how it goes for TCG and Go, you can all look at your own leisure. The adjustment for the divisions, obviously, everything goes up by a year, because I need to be reminded that I'm old. Nothing surprising about that one here, though. For the juniors and seniors, some bad news from Brazil and Germany. Because in those countries, beginning from the 2027 Championship Series, all competitors under the age of 12 for those held in Germany and 14 in Brazil are not eligible to participate in VGC Championship Series events. Which is kind of messed up, because that means that a bunch of the younger players, basically the entire seniors and junior division in Brazil, are going to miss out on LAIC, which does suck for the little ones, especially those that live in South America. Now, for the Europeans, Germany, it's not as tragic, because as we're going to get to later, it is just 2 regionals. But if you're from there, obviously it really, really sucks if you have children that are already in the circuit. So yeah, actively exploring solutions. We're going to see more about that later, but the big news for the Champions players that is going to annoy a lot of people is right here. Pokemon Champions device policy for VGC Championship Series. For the 2027 Champion Series, competitors will have the option to use any console from the Nintendo Switch and switch to family of system, which means no mobile devices. Something new for the 2027 World Championship, which basically goes to show that they apparently have not figured out how to integrate the phones into there. And if you follow stuff on social media like I do, you know that there's a lot of programs that allow you to calc stuff easily and on the fly mid-match, which is not something that the Pokemon Company International would ever want to allow. So again, there's a lot to say about that. I do think that Pokemon is missing out on a lot of momentum when it comes to Champions' release, because we already had the very late release. I don't think many people would have anticipated that the console launch would have been on April 8th, and then the mobile launch more than 2 months later, meaning that only 3 events prior to the World Championship even were allowed to use Pokemon Champions as it. So that is something that annoys me a lot, because to me, Pokemon Champions' biggest strength was always the accessibility, in the sense of being a free-to-play game that also does have a mobile release, meant that as many people as possible could finally get their hands on the competitive Pokemon software, not being bound to consoles. The fact that the fact that the mobile devices won't be allowed until presumably the World Championship next year means that mobile-only players will not be able to participate in the circuit until the 2028 season, which starts to ring some alarm bells. I do think that is a topic that deserves a lot more talking about, but for now, I just want to say that this is potentially one of the biggest stifler of growth that we have yet seen. And on a side note, because the news don't have to just be bad, they can also be supremely weird. What are they doing with Pokemon Go? Changes are coming to the 2027 Pokemon Go World Championships. The tournament will feature 3-on-3 team play with teams formed from the pool of qualified players, with qualification still being on an individual basis and everything, and it just makes me think, what is the logic behind this? How are they going to form this? I need someone that actually works to explain this to me, because I don't get why. If you want to have team tournaments, just host team tournaments. But having individual people qualify for Worlds and then start it in a team tournament where, honestly, I don't think you can reasonably plan around that, because if you say you want to have a team and then only 2 out of 3 players for your team qualify, what do you do then? I'm just... this is just baffling to me. Yeah, outside of that, not a whole lot to say about things, except we finally got the dates. This is the list that we've all been waiting for. The season is going to be kicked off in Baltimore, and we already have some. So here's the thing that is a little annoying to me, because Brisbane and Frankfurt regionals are going to be happening at the exact same weekend as the first global challenge. I don't know about you all guys, but if I go to a regional, I am not particularly in the mood to also play a whole global challenge afterwards. Because if you already play your 8, or how they do it now, 9 rounds on Saturday, all you usually want to do is get something to eat and then either party or go to bed, because the next day is already waiting for you. So I don't know why they couldn't have held it at a different date, but it is what it is. That's already something to keep in mind for the people planning to travel. But very interesting is the internet, because LAIC is LAIC, but something that annoys me quite a bit that I wanted to talk about, aside from the fact that there is a lot of Latin American events, so good for them. I'm assuming that there's going to be more announced for NA, because if you look at North America, there's like 5 regionals so far. Yeah, there's San Diego, Milwaukee, Las Vegas, Louisville, and Baltimore. So lots of stuff. Honestly, a lot of things to look forward to. Very, very happy that we're getting Dunks again, and Prague gets to stick around. Was genuinely afraid that that might be a one and done deal, but huge news for the people in Portugal, because we're finally going to have an event there with Lisbon Pokemon special event. So that's stuff to look forward to. But why? Why on God's green earth is EUIC in London again? Now, February 19th to 21st. Sure, whatever, why not? But I've heard so many rumors. I heard so many rumors that it's going to be in a different location, that the lease was done for the Excel Center, but please, DPCI, can we hold EUIC in a different country? Like, how has EUIC been held in fewer countries than Worlds? Because EUIC only ever happened in 2 countries. Twice in Germany and the rest of the time in London. I am so sick and tired of going there. The only thing to really do, But yeah, it is what it is. Honestly, I just wanted to rant a little bit about this, because the changes are still mostly the same. The best finish limits are still the same, because you still get 4 of each local, you still get 5. NEIC is in Chicago. NEIC is in Chicago. That is the one thing that we already knew, because they announced it at this year's NEIC. NEIC is in Chicago. And I think LEIC is presumably in Sao Paulo again. Yep. There is also a regional in Nice, yeah. Little joke on the side, but the one thing that I really would have loved to see changed with all those changes already would have been a change to the best finish limit, because I do think that regionals and internets sharing a best finish limit, allowing people to attend multiple for more points, would have been perhaps a net positive, because I do think that internets being on the same best finish limit as the regionals, which are now kept at 5, where it used to be 6 in prior seasons when it was only regionals, is... I don't think it's great that it incentivizes people who have more money than most people to just travel to multiple internationals and just farm points there to barely edge out a world championship. Other than that, very, very interesting to see. Again, I do think it's most unfortunate that the mobile devices won't be eligible for play in official tournaments. Because at the end of the day, Pokemon should be for everyone, is what they always like to say. But hopefully in the next season, and once it maybe gets to mobile devices being allowed on official stages, it will maybe get a boost again. But for now, that's basically just all I wanted to talk about. We finally got some news. You will see me in a bunch of the European tournaments. I can't wait to go to Poland again. I can't wait to finally go to Prague, because I couldn't do it otherwise. Tell me what other tournaments you plan to go to. I was Casey, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.